Welcome to Distracted, the podcast with Angela Lockwood, the place where you will find practical brain-boosting strategies, expert insights, and real-life stories to help busy brains thrive in the age of distraction. Let's go. Welcome to Distracted. You're joining Angela Lockwood, and today I am actually quite interested myself to see what comes out of this conversation today, because I'm joined with Kerry Rowett. Kerry is a kinesiologist based in Adelaide, and she works with high-achieving female business owners. And so she has access to some of the most brilliant minds of female entrepreneurs and business owners. But the interesting part is Kerry has access to their minds, but also to so much more that lies underneath. And we're going to tap into that today. So, Kerry, before I jump into asking you all the questions I have, welcome to Distracted.
Thank you. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Kerry, I've been, as you know, a little bit of a fringe fan for a while. Kerry's been in my world for quite a few years in terms of me learning from Kerry. I watch what she says. I listen to her podcast. She's very, and there's an energetic alignment with her. And I would say I would post this video, I would imagine, because you need to almost sense the energy of Kerry to really, truly understand the magic behind Kerry. And I know that might feel a little bit uncomfortable for you, Kerry, sitting there, but your little cards that you have, and I in the DIY Kinesiology Kit that you provide, has been a guiding light for me through so many big decisions. I share it with so many people saying, I've pulled a card this morning and Kerry has helped me, and you don't even know that you're doing this, Kerry. So for those of you that are listening and you're thinking, what is she talking about? What is kinesiology? What are these cards? Kerry, can you just unravel, I guess, some of the misunderstandings of what kinesiology is, or even just tell us a little bit about what led you to this profession and what it's done for you?
So I got into kinesiology because I was really seeking something. I was feeling quite stuck in my own life, and I wasn't actually feeling that happy, but I couldn't really understand why. And so that led me to seeing a kinesiologist myself, and I had a really transformational experience. And that caused me to then decide to go ahead and study this modality myself. Even though when I started studying kinesiology back in 2009, it was even less well known than it is now, and people didn't really, understand what it was and how it might be able to help them. But I was just so incredibly passionate about what I'd experienced myself, and then everyone I worked with were having these incredible transformations as well. So in kinesiology, what you're doing is you're bringing a problem or a goal to the kinesiologist, and we use muscle testing to tap into your energy and to help you to really understand what is blocking you on all these different levels. So mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. And we also use muscle testing to determine what it is that you are needing to come back into this state of harmony and alignment. Now, I started my business, and I quite quickly started to attract lots of clients, and I was booked out in my business within 2 years. So I started in Melbourne, and as I said, people didn't really know what kinesiology was, and I'm not like a natural marketer. I didn't have any background in that. And so as I look back, I can see that was quite remarkable. And so I started attracting more business owners. And I was also asked at one point, well, Kerry, you're obviously doing something right. Like, what is it that you have done to be able to create this? And if you can find that and bottle it, like, that's going to be gold. And straight away I knew the answer, and it was alignment. And I used to spend, and still do spend, a lot of time aligning my own energy with my goals. And that was how I was able to create an early success, and to continue to grow and evolve my business over the years since then. And it was really about being able to tune in to my own wisdom, to my own magic, and to be able to release those things that really didn't matter, that were distractions, that didn't serve me, so that I could stay focused on exactly what it was that I was desiring to create.
Oh, I love so much of what you just said because obviously on here we're distracted. It's all about being focused. But one of the things I know that you talk about, and I guess where I've come into your world, Kerry, is you are surrounded by a lot of very successful business women. And so women who are very high achieving, who I guess from the outside people would look at and say they're, on the grind, they're in the hustle, or they're doing all this hard energy work or hard brain work. I'm really interested in finding out, particularly, I guess, as the conduit to my listeners, how do people balance their energy through someone like a kinesiologist to not be always in their head, always driving forward, always goal focused? Why is that balance so important, and how do you do it?
Oh, it's such a great question. So, as you say, a lot of the people I work with, they are quite goal oriented. However, they don't just want to achieve success in their business. They don't want to achieve success at all costs. And I'm sure that is true for so many of your audience as well. Like, we're achievers, but it needs to come with other things that really matter. So we're not looking to sacrifice relationship or family life or health or indeed friendships. And so people will come to me because, first of all, it could be that there is something that is going on in their personal life that is really causing them a lot of distraction or turmoil or, discomfort, and they're wanting to release that, particularly if it's something from the past that they can sense is really holding them back. And then when it comes to business, hard work will take us to a certain point, but it doesn't take us the whole way. And each of us have got our unique and special ways of getting in our own way. And high achieving people really recognize that and see that. And they know that when they're showing up at their best, when they're in their power, when they're connected to their own wisdom, that's when they find the answers. They make great decisions. They are able to stay focused on their bigger vision and take the actions that actually matter, because there's hard work and then there's hard work. Like, there's what hard work are you going to choose? We can be in the hard work of the grind and working all of the hours of the day and night, and we can be instead in the hard work of the making the right decisions, sometimes making the hard decisions, having the right kinds of boundaries, and doing the work to have that clarity on what really matters for you. So when somebody comes to work with me, they bring all of the mess and all of the chaos, which we all have, because what I find is a lot of people who are high achieving, they are actually balancing and managing a lot. Like, there are a lot of balls in the air. They want to do everything to a very high standard. They have very high standards for themselves. And so they're looking to find out, how can I support my own energy so that I'm able to do that? And what we can find is that there can be emotions that are holding us back, beliefs, stories from the past, and limitations. We can be hitting up against upper limits about what it is that we believe is possible for us. We can be in bad habits or in bad patterns that really just aren't serving us. And sometimes we can have all of the knowledge in the world about that, but we can't actually make that change ourselves. And also, sometimes we can have blind spots around what it is that we're doing that is not actually serving us. And it takes somebody else to come in and to point that out to us. And this happens so frequently. And I work with people who are leaders in their own right, who do a lot of client work in their own right, whether some of that might be one-on-one, a lot of it might be in more of a group capacity. And yet when they come and see someone like me, I can point things out to them and I say, oh my gosh, how did I not see that? Because we're focused on what we're focused on, and we're not seeing everything. So to have someone else be able to let you know what is holding you back, rather than you having to try and guess for yourself can be incredibly powerful. And that really can streamline your energy. I've got a client who I've been working with actually for years, but she's just recently committed to working with me fortnightly across a year. And we had just our third session just recently. And at the end of the session, she said, I cannot believe I did not do this sooner, because there is power in having someone to support you with your energy and to release your blocks as a one-off thing. But when we do this work consistently and we are kind of committed to that, that's where we can create this incredible momentum and we can really uncover more of our own potential. And that's what I get really passionate about.
Mm. And listening to you too, Kerry, I feel like as business owners, we will seek out a consultant, we'll seek out an accountant, we'll seek out, maybe a bookkeeper or a business coach, or we'll go and sign up to a program to help with systems and very logically based tasks that will engage people. But there still seems to be, for so many, a reluctance and a resistance even to open ourselves up to the other elements of going, well, are we actually doing the work that really matters to us? Are we stepping into our power? And all those points that you just mentioned. For people who might be listening going, I know there's a block in my business. I know that there's something stopping me from stepping into who I want to be or who I want to serve or the business that I want. Is there any suggestions or any strategies that you can recommend for people to help them sort of step out of the logic and step out of the drive all the time and move into, I guess, being more open to receiving some of that other side around the energetics?
I think that takes you back into that space that I was in when I first said I saw a kinesiologist, which was in that space of seeking and in that space of looking. And so you can actually put it out there. Like, I really want to do things differently. I want to understand like how it is that I can support myself better. Asking those questions that you have and then paying attention to what comes into your awareness. It could be kinesiology, it could be certain books that start to come up, conversations that you're a part of, podcast episodes that you are listening to, and you start to follow these threads of what it is that is really calling you. And trusting in that, trusting in some of those synchronicities and that alignment. I would never say to someone that, oh, you should go and do this. Because what happens when we act from a place of you should? Well, you've got these blocks. You should, see a kinesiologist. If you don't want to and you are not invested and you're not open, it's not really resonating for you, that's a waste of time. Like, it's a waste of everybody's time. So I think it's really learning to trust in your own knowing and in your own curiosity. So if you feel guided to move more, do that. If you know that you need to meditate more, do that. If you have been sensing that it'd be a great time to go back to your yoga practice, do that. And as you start to tune in and pay attention to what feels right for you, that's when things can start to unfold and you can start to receive more answers.
And it's really interesting, isn't it, Kerry, that how often we quieten those, I guess, universal whispers, or sometimes there are even road signs that come up and maybe just stand right in front of us and give us a literal block. But why do we quieten those messages so much when, it might be an ongoing pain in the lower back, or it might be even just ongoing headaches or something physical, a physical manifestation. It might be something where it's, might be a psychological manifestation where we are feeling stressed. It could be something relational. Why do we fight so hard against those to either make them quieter or tell them to go away, and the problem just keeps getting worse?
I guess it comes back to that power of the mind and the will. And sometimes we don't want to know and we don't want to listen. And also sometimes listening will require us taking new actions and making new decisions that are challenging. So we would rather ignore it. And it takes me back to the idea, and I'm sure many of you have heard this analogy before. There'll be the feather, the whisper. And then there's like the knock, you need to do something about this. You need to pay attention. If you don't pay attention, then it's the Mack truck. And it's like, what do I want? Do I want to take it to the final degree where it's like I have to have a huge wake-up call in order to change? Or do I want to learn to listen to the whispers, or at least the knocks, and learn to act on those nudges? It really is a choice. And as you're listening now, you might make that choice. I actually do want to start paying closer attention. And so consciously, rather than pushing that down or pretending it's not happening or just taking Panadol for that pain, I could instead ask myself, what is this really about? And then if I need support with that, what kind of support do I require with that? And you mentioned earlier, like sometimes we can have our patterns of what we're happy to invest in. And if we think about in our businesses, sometimes it might be like, well, if the business needs something, I will just pay for that and I will get that support. And yet sometimes when it comes to ourselves personally, we don't always have that same attitude of, if my body or if I personally or emotionally require something, I find that exact right support. So I do think it is a choice that you have to make. It's not something that somebody else can do for you. It's deciding it matters, and that those messages that you're receiving from your body and from your life that are telling you something's out of alignment, something's not quite working, knowing that if you listen to it before it becomes too huge, then you're going to be able to create a change, and it doesn't have to wait until it becomes really dramatic.
Yeah, hopefully listeners just then really opened themselves to listening to that. I would strongly suggest after you finish the end of this is even go back and listen to this point in time about 17 minutes into our conversation, because that was such an important thing that you just shared, Kerry, because I hear so many times in workshops with clients, people going, I knew this all along. Why didn't I listen? And I always find that a really interesting question because, and you talk about this so often, is the power of our intuition and the power of listening to our intuition. And particularly for business owners or people who are in positions where they're managing maybe lots of people, they're managing big workloads, or they're managing big, funding streams. A lot of that's very head driven. So how can people, or is there any strategies that you can give for people or practices to help tap into their intuition a little bit more, so that those whispers can almost I guess stay whispers, but can be a little bit louder than just sitting in the background all the time?
Sure. So sometimes we're asking the questions like, why is this happening? Or why am I so stressed? Or how do I solve this problem? But we're not actually giving ourselves space to listen to the answers. So that's really what we're talking about here. And we're talking about listening to the intuition. And our intuition can often speak to us through our body and through our felt sense. And we know this, like, that how you feel in your body when you feel pressured. So you might even just tap into that now, like that sense of pressure that you might have when you've got a deadline or something needs to be done, or you've got too much to do in too little time. We know how it feels in our body when we feel anxious. Again, you might just allow yourself to tap into that right now. We know how it feels when we have this deep sense of love for a partner or a particular family member, or a whole family. So you might allow yourself to feel that right now as well. And this is your body speaking to you. And it's knowing that my body is always doing this. if I can create the space to actually listen. So the ways that we might create that space, for a lot of us, movement can really help. If you've been really busy and in your head, and then you stop and try and meditate, be really still, you might find your mind just keeps on going and going and going, and you don't actually feel like you receive the benefit. Whereas if you can move yourself, move your body, that can be a great way. You might try doing that without listening to a podcast. I mean, maybe you're walking and listening to a podcast now. That's great. But, you could use that time to allow yourself just to think and to feel and to ask yourself questions about, how am I going? What is working? What isn't working for me right now? Another way that you can ask those questions, but then also allow yourself to receive a response, is through journaling. And I'm sure many of the listeners have journaled at some time in their life, and maybe you're doing it now, maybe you're not, but this can be a way where you ask questions of yourself and then allow yourself to receive the answers. And then, that intuitive knowing can start to come through when you're allowing yourself that space to listen. The third way is through meditation. Like I said, if you've been in a very heady space, you may not find it easy, but you can explore. Insight Timer is a great app that I really like. You can listen to music, you can listen to a guided meditation, but it's allowing yourself to still. And you might use processes that involve the breath, because the breath is a great way to connect to your body. So considering that and just asking yourself, how can I create space to listen and to receive wisdom from myself?
I feel like I just wrote the 3 down for myself there, Kerry. Thank you. Well, I do want to get on in a moment just to talking about a recent episode on your podcast that I heard, and the podcast being called Align and Attract. It's an amazing podcast. If anything that we're speaking about on this episode is resonating with the listeners, please head on over to Align and Attract with Kerry Rowett. It really is, it's just such a beautiful space to be in. And even if you're somebody who is heady, we keep saying is in your head a lot, it's a lovely podcast to get into to help you move out of your head and into those things that we've been talking about. So I'll make sure I link to Align and Attract. We'll get to that episode in a moment, but I want to ask you, many years ago, and I mentioned this in the beginning, I downloaded your DIY Kinesiology Kit. Now, I know it's still available, so if people wanted to jump on to Kerry's website, yes, go to the DIY Kinesiology Kit. Now, I've got to ask you, how come there is so much power in a PDF download? It's a PDF kit that has the most amazing insights. Obviously, it's written through you, so it's so beautifully articulated, but there is so much power in asking questions and receiving answers through these cards. I have witnessed this so many times myself, shared it with so many people who have gone on and downloaded them themselves. Why are tools like this so powerful? And how can people tap into the power of tools like this?
Okay, so this particular tool, which is my alignment process, which you can access through my DIY Kinesiology Kit, which we'll share in the show notes. This came out of that question that I was asked years ago. So you remember I said I was asked, it was actually by a business coach who said, like, what exactly are you doing? Because once you find that, you need to bottle it and then you can share it with others. And the answer that came through was alignment. And almost immediately on the call with this business coach, and she was a very spiritual person, I started to describe what I did. So as you know, I was already a kinesiologist, but this was a greatly simplified process. It wasn't a process that I had learned, but it was essentially this: creating your goal and then finding out exactly what it is that is blocking you. And in the DIY Kinesiology Kit, I created a set of cards so that you're able to do that. because as a kinesiologist, I was muscle testing and using all of the resources I had. So this was a way that you could do it yourself. You could find out, like, what is the exact block? Because, I mean, how curious are we? We want to know, like, what is it? And you can find out. And to this day, so I created this kit in 2011. To this day, I can pull a card for myself when I ask that question, what is blocking me? And I can laugh because I can't believe that has come up because it is so spot on. Or I can just really feel that sense of, oh my gosh, that is exactly it. Sometimes I can pull a card and think, oh, what does that mean? But then when I feel into it and explore it, I'm like, that actually really does make sense. And then I guide you in this process to feel into where that block is in your body. So we've already spoken about how important it is to be able to have that connection to your body. That's really where so much of our wisdom lies, to shift that energetically and then to create this alignment with your goal. So imagining what it would feel like to be in alignment with your goal kind of tricks the body and the mind into showing you what this alignment feels like so that you get to experience it and you actually do become aligned with your goal. Now, it's very interesting you ask that question because after that came through, I then went into this deep process of really exploring exactly what this alignment looked like and exactly what it was that I was doing on all of the different layers. And it was a channeled process. So for those who are not in the spiritual space, I'm like, what does she mean by that? It really felt like it was a process that came through me. And there was a condition on it that if I am to receive this process, I need to be sharing it with others. And that was very confronting. 2011, I actually started my business in 2009. I said before I started studying in 2009, that was actually 2007. And so I was pretty new to business. And I wasn't actually working with that many business owners yet. And so for me to take this process to other business owners, because it started out as a business program and still is a part of a business program that I teach, and say, this process can support you to align to your business goals. I didn't really want to do that, to be honest with you, but I was driven by this sense of obligation. And also I had the business coach who just really saw the magic in this process as well. And she's like, you have to, like, I'm going to support you in it. And if you've got this process that can help other people, like, who are you not to share it? Like, you need to share it. And so she really held me in that and supported me through it. And the reason why I say that timing is interesting, you've asked about that, is because I've been back in the same process this year. And that's, what's this, how many years? 13 years later, I've been going really deep back into understanding, what is it that I'm doing now? Like, after working with all of these brilliant minds, these brilliant entrepreneurs, and having this inside understanding of what makes, like, these exceptional minds and these exceptional businesses tick. What is the support that I offer them that actually makes the difference and causes them to thrive and to create, like, ever expanding, beautiful work in the world. And so, yeah, it's that out of that deep work that we create something that is magic and that has this sense of substance and longevity. So I can say that's why it works. It's simple, but around it is so much of this other work and this depth of awareness and understanding. And I'm sure that's true for everyone who's listening as well. It's like, each of us, we use that word heady, like, maybe I'm in this spiritual space, but I've still got a lot of that heady energy going on. That's why I still need the work that I do for myself. And, like, when we're able to distill all of that complexity that we're able to hold and to manage and to really bring it down to its simplest, cleanest, clearest form that other people are able to understand, like, that's real magic.
Well, I am so glad you did that deep work back in 2011 because it really has helped me through so many big life decisions, but also big blocks that I couldn't work through myself. And I love that you don't probably even, you're not even aware of it. But because you did that deep work and you did do, took a step back and went deep and thought, what can I offer this world and what have I got to deliver? You've helped so many people's lives. So I'm going to just take the opportunity to say thank you so much, Kerry, for helping me through even just that one alignment kit. so, but I
So
know.
pleasure. And, and also, I actually hear from people all the time who have told me like they bought it 5 years ago, 10 years ago, a year ago, 3 months ago, and they'll tell me it's changed my life.
Yeah.
And that's, this opportunity that we have available to us when we are really tuned in to ourselves and our magic and what it is that wants to come through us and really hold that very pure, clean intention. And I think that comes back to like what really matters to you. What's the work you really want to be doing? What are you really desiring to create?
Mm.
And what's going to be your legacy?
Wow, there's some big questions there. Again, go back, listen again, and then work through those. But I am mindful of our time, Kerry. I knew I'd go over time with you. I knew I would. But I do want to just quickly revisit I guess the whole thing, the episode that really was the catalyst to me reaching out to you and inviting you on Distracted was around energetics versus strategy. And for people who want to listen to that episode, go to Align and Attract, and it's energetics versus and strategy. Can you just tell me, for those people who are listening, okay, the balance between strategy, particularly, when we're looking at, new financial years or end of the year and all these goal setting, what are some of the ways that business owners can balance the energetics and the strategy within their business so that they have more of a balanced approach rather than a driving one or the other? Because often I'll tell you a little bit why. I do know I do work a lot with health professionals as well, Kerry. And I hear a lot from health professionals, I just want to make a difference in the world, which is wonderful, but they've got no strategy behind what they do. And so it's the two sides. It's not always everybody's about strategy. Sometimes people are all about energetics. So my question, I guess, going back to, how can people find a little bit of the balance between the two? And is there anything that you recommend for people?
Yes. So I believe to grow a business and to really thrive, you do need both. But we often will have a go to. And so for some people, the answer is always strategy. And it's always, what is the strategy I need? Who can I hire to support me in that strategy? And of course, as I say, we do need it, but strategy does not solve every problem. And also, I sometimes see people really going into some complexity with strategy when simplicity would work just as well, if not better. And we can so desire to systemize and have these processes that we can kind of lose that personal connection and the value of relationships, and as well like the importance of our own energy. So we can have the most perfect strategy in our business, but if we are burnt out, depleted, feeling really negative, and just feeling really irritated because we are working way too much and our business is taking everything from us, and it's actually impacting now on relationships and our health and our well-being. Well, how successful and how sustainable is our business going to be? And the other thing as well I want to say about leaning into strategy is sometimes people feel like strategy is going to solve certain problems that it can't actually solve. So if you don't have, for example, an offer or a business model that is actually really going to support you to thrive, and the offer that your clients actually really want to purchase and that really meets their needs, well, no amount of strategy and the right funnel and the right ads and the right whatever is going to actually change that. So that's one way we can lean, is into all strategy. But then the other way we can lean is into more of the energetics or of the hope, I have the passion and I have the desire to help, and that's going to take me through. Like, those things definitely are important. But what I can see sometimes when people lean too much into the energetics is they're kind of almost just hoping it's going to happen. So I'll have people say, like, I don't really want to have to do all the steps that you're supposed to do. I don't really want to have to do the regular, like the marketing, and I don't really like social media, and I don't really like all these different things. And I'm essentially going to manifest it, which is a lovely thought. But also, we do need to have some systems and processes and consistency in what it is that we're doing. And if we do have that beautiful passion and that drive to help, that can take us so far, but we can also burn out, and then we can be too reliant on that passion attracting the clients and really driving the business. And then if we go through a bit of a lull in our energy or experience some ill health or even burnout, like, there's nothing in the business. Actually, the business is purely fueled on our energy, and we can discover, that's actually not going to work, that's not going to be sustainable. So those are two versions of the extreme, and there's other things that can come into play there as well. But I really believe it's about finding our own balance with that. So where do we need to have the right strategy? And then also, like, where can we put boundaries around that as well, and around our own energy? And so ensuring that we do have, we have that balance, and we can be taking care of our own energy as well, and really valuing that, and valuing our own mindset, our own happiness, our own well-being outside of the business. And then when it comes to somebody who might be like, I'm willing to drive on passion and just focus on the energy, where can we get support to put in place strategies and to do that deeper thinking about the business model and the offers and how to set things up so they can also be supporting you as well. So it's not an easy, quick fix answer. There's actually this sense of needing to feel into it, and perhaps even in some instances to work with somebody who can help you to make those really great decisions, to build on what's already working really well for you, but to see where some of your own gaps might be and to support you with those gaps.
And of course, I'll link everything that we've talked about with Kerry. You've got so many things to offer, Kerry, from the DIY Kinesiology Kit, your podcast. You also have the Align and Attract book that you are author of, and so many different one-on-one offerings, and obviously the mastermind that has just been released, which is super exciting. Kerry, as we finish, I would love to know for people who, I guess, what your thoughts are. What are your hopes for people who are living in this very fast-paced world, who are feeling like they're always running to keep up? What's your hope for those people, and what's your hope for all of us in being able to slow down and tap into some of these things that we've shared today?
It really is to make sure you're asking yourself those bigger questions about what it is that really matters for you, so that you can be living in alignment with that sense of purpose, that you are living in alignment with that bigger picture of what it is that you actually desire to create, and that you're not sacrificing yourself and your own energy in pursuit of, well, who knows what, growth, or just this desire to do more, to be more, to have more. Making sure that we take that time to do that reflection about what we really want. And then from there, we can make better decisions and take better actions that are in alignment with that and are going to help us to create what we really desire.
Thank you so much, Kerry, and thank you for your time on being on here. I absolutely love being in your energy space, whatever that is, whether it's a PDF, whether it's listening to you at an event, here speaking with you in a conversation. I always love your energy. It always makes so many things feel possible, but also allows you to feel very grounded and very connected with what you're here for. So thank you for shining your light on so many people and your expertise on so many people. Thanks for being here on Distracted.
Thank you so much for those beautiful words, and I've loved talking with you.
Thanks, Kerry. And for all of you listeners, I told you it would be a wonderful episode. Please share this. I know that you know so many people who would benefit from listening to my conversation with Kerry Rowett. And please go and do yourself a favor and explore. If this feels a little bit challenging for you about going into these other elements of who you are, I would love for you to explore it, because you never know what you're going to tap into and what power you're going to unleash in yourself. The world really needs what you have to offer. So, please enjoy and share with people who you know will really benefit. I'm Angela Lockwood, everyone. Thanks for joining me here on Distracted.